Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, good morning, Sam. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great today. Thanks for having me here.
Great. So, welcome to the Advisor Pro podcast. For all our listeners, today we're joined by Stefani Havel, CEO and founder of Sales Strategy Network, a high energy sales strategist, communication expert, and a keynote speaker who's trained more than 1,000 professionals across 4 countries. Stephanie is also known for blending disc behavior models and agile EQ frameworks to help professionals master communication, emotional intelligence, and confidence that converts conversations into clients. With over 25 years in financial services and leadership, she's led top 10% sales teams and now teaches coaches and consultants how to close deals naturally. No pressure, no gimmicks, just results. Is that a fair assessment, Stephanie?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm happy to bring all of my years of experience to the audience today.
Beautiful. So, Stephanie, you've coached thousands of professionals and led some of the highest performing sales teams in the country. What's the biggest mind shift you see when people finally start closing deals effortlessly?
Yeah, great question, Sam. It's really that confidence. When people really understand that sales really is just about conveying the value of the product or the program or the service they offer. And that's when it becomes fun for them. That's when the salesy feelings, the sales ick comes off the table, is when they truly understand that sales is just, providing that value and service of your product or your program and having confidence in what you offer. So that's always so great to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Totally. It's all about confidence and how you deliver.
Absolutely.
So jumping into the first part, just understanding the structure or the DNA of natural closes. Spent decades helping people with confidence. From your experience, what separates the top 5% of coaches and consultants from the rest when it comes to closing high value deals?
Yeah, definitely having a process. It's so important to be able to understand the sales process. And I found that's where a lot of sales professionals miss. They may be great at building that connection, really getting with the client, but then sometimes they'll skip right to the presentation. There's 7 steps in the sales cycle. And I always say, if you miss a step, you're going to miss a sale. So it's really important that you understand that you follow all 7 steps in the sales process. And I can talk a little bit more about that later. But really, when they follow the process, they know they're ready, right, to ask the right questions, handle any objections, validate the customer's concerns and needs, and then be able to move forward and really get that customer excited. And then also the follow-up, right, staying in touch with the client afterwards, after the sale has been made. But that's really the biggest difference for people getting that confidence, is being confident in their process and what they take their client through from beginning. So my method is called the convert method. So from taking them from C, connection, to final T, which is touch and follow up.
Nice. So as one salesperson to another, I've seen this a lot, and sometimes I'm also guilty of it. But for our listeners, what do you think are some of the subtle habits or communication cues you see in people who are consistently closing deals without?
Number 1, it's connection. And that's the C in my convert method, is building that initial connection with the client. We've heard the adage, people do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust. But how do you build that trust, right? People can know us and they can get to like us based on our personality. But the next step, which is critical in sales, is how do they trust you? And that comes from building that initial connection and really understanding what your client needs. What is their pain points? Why are they calling you? Why did they click on your website? Why did they fill out the form? And then so as a salesperson, asking those better questions right in the beginning to uncover what their pain points are, so you can build that common connection with them. And that's where the trust comes in. And once you've built that connection and you've built up that trust, everything else is just going to feel natural and flow effortlessly.
For sure. I mean, the old adage phrase, right? People buy from people. And if you can quickly in the first 30 or in the first engagement or first conversation, build that trust and have that connection, then it just leads to having a nice flow of that discussion and following the process. So totally on board with
that
that.
human connection. People want authenticity in this artificial world, is what I've been saying.
We are in that artificial world now, so it's more need for human connection than anything else. And that segues to my next question in terms of the emotional intelligence. I think that is so key from when you're dealing with people, having that EQ as key part of the sales process. From your perspective, why is emotional the EQ quotient so important in closing?
Yeah, because it's so important to really understand where your client is coming from. And one of the adages you can say is you sell people what they want and give them what they need, right? So really just understand where are they coming from, and being able to have that, either understanding not only your client's emotions, but also yourself, right? Being able to regulate your own emotions. So if it is a difficult situation, or there are emotions running high sometimes, depending on your product or your program or your service, right? They're in fear of losing their job, or their company's not making money, or it's their health or their wellness. So being able to connect with them and be able to pick up those cues and understanding that is really a critical component to somebody being successful in sales.
And again, the thing is now, since few years, we are dealing with people in conversations a lot through this particular medium that we are, through Zoom or through Teams or whatever. And just picking up those cues even becomes even more important, I think. So picking up the signals is it's quite an art, I would say. That's something that I think, as part of your framework program, communicating with confidence and clarity, how does one go about understanding the behavioral profiles that help coaches communicate more effectively with clients during the sales process? I mean, is there a certain method as part of your framework that you've created that addresses this?
So one of the things that I teach in my trainings is the DISC behavior model. And so it really, first of all, starts with understanding your own style first. How do you communicate? Are you a very direct, straight to the point person? Are you somebody that makes decisions quickly and likes to tell stories? Or are you someone who likes to think things through? You're more resistant to change, or somebody else that wants some more data or information. To, first of all, understand your own style. How are you? And sometimes I'll ask people, think about how you like to buy. Think about the last major transaction that you have, major purchase. What resonated with you? Did you need to have a lot of facts and data? Did you buy on emotion? Was it a story? Was it just something that you needed right away and that salesperson got to the point quickly with you? So really thinking about how you like to buy, and then being able to understand that and then pick up on those cues. And that's a big thing. Is somebody talking to you fast and to the point? Are they telling stories? It comes down to kind of matching their behavior style a little bit, doing that. And that's where a lot of emotional intelligence comes in, is the tonality, their pace. And if you can learn that, that's where you're really going to start to be effective.
Yeah. And then in your line of work, obviously you work with a lot of coaches, coaching the coaches and helping them in their journey to prospects, how they can engage with prospects. But when you have a short discovery call, right? I mean, how can coaches quickly identify what the prospect's communication style is?
Yeah, good question. And I get this a lot from people, because they wonder, they'll take the training and they say, well, okay, but how do I know? I don't have a lot of time. There's so many cues in that conversation. And of course, it starts with what I said earlier, is asking better questions. So one of the basic general questions I always like to have my clients ask their clients is, what are the 3 things that are most important to you? And when you ask that question, you ask them to give you 3 things. Really listen for those cues. Are they saying, look, I just need to make money, I need to get this done, and I want it now? That person wants things fast and quick. And that's where, when you start to listen to how they respond to that question, that's how you need to respond in your sales pitch. If they're being direct and short and facts, let's go. You need to, cut the fluff and get right to the point with them. If they start, if they're conversational and they start telling you a story, they want to hear stories. They want to hear testimonials. If they start questioning facts or data or science or reasoning, you want to be prepared to be able to clearly explain why your product or your program or your service is the best. What facts do you have? Results. So really listen. I call it active listening, right? Truly listening to what your client needs. But when they give you those 3 things, that's going to really give you a clear indication as to what's important to them. And then listen to how they respond, their tone, their pace of talking. If they're talking really fast, or if they're talking slow and thinking about things, you want to match how they are presenting to you. And that's going to be key for you. So really just listening and then matching them is going to be successful for you to identify their.
It's incredible, right? As a salesperson, you've got to be so adaptable and be ready for whatever shift the tone takes or the conversation goes. And you're so right, because There are some people who just want to go bang, 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 hurry up, tell me what I need or how he can help me. And some people want to give the backstory context. So you got to just
Yeah,
go
and
with
people
that flow.
Yeah, and some people don't care. So that's what you need to understand when you know your style. I know me, I'm a storyteller and I like to tell stories. And some people are like, I don't care. I just want to buy the product. Right. So
Yeah.
you're right. You have to really understand. And you said it, be flexible and be able to adapt. So when you can hear how your client is speaking in your mindset, that's where a professional, a high level sales professional will know that, okay, I got to go off script here. I got to change up my style. They don't want to
Mm.
buy like I do. I need to flex and adapt to them. And that's the difference in those 1% sale in the top 1% people is they can flex and adapt their style.
Yeah, and especially when, it takes a lot of effort to get that prospect on the call and get their attention, you want to make sure that you make those 30 minutes count
Yeah, absolutely.
and 30 minutes or even less time, right? So as a coach, before I prepare to meet with the prospect, I like to do a bit of research. I like to get a little bit background check. The investigation should I be prepared to have the right kind of mindset. Any daily or pre-call rituals you recommend that coaches should look at? I mean, any top three tips or top?
Yeah. Number one is understanding your why. When why are you in this business that you're doing? What is it that you want? What is the outcome that you want? If you're really truly in it because you love your product and you know you can help the person on the other end, that's where you want to start. Why am I what's getting me up out of bed today and what's getting me excited? And when you understand, if you're desperate, if you're out getting on that call because, oh my gosh, I need to make money, I need to close this sale, I might lose my job. I always say, a customer can smell desperation
Oh
even
yeah,
over the phone.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so one, just understanding your why, having that goes back to that confident in what you offer. And then also I always start my day with gratitude or grounding walks. If I live, in a colder climate in the winter, so in the summer I'm outside in my bare feet, but otherwise oftentimes I just walk around my house or just stand for a moment in my bare feet and feel the ground and just give gratitude. So just really gets me centered, gets my mind right, grateful that I have this opportunity to help that person that's going to be on the other end of the call today.
Yeah, it's all about getting that positive energy flowing, right? So
Yeah.
you can exude that in the call itself.
Yeah,
Because,
people will hear it. They're going to feel your energy and your positivity coming through the phone for sure.
absolutely. So we've talked about the value of emotional intelligence, talked about picking up cues, we've talked about getting into the mindset, and now you engage that conversation. Let's talk about the conversion. Most important thing, right? You've done all the hard work. You've got to know the client or the prospect, and you picked up all the signals, adapted to their style, you've answered all their good questions, and now the golden thing, right? How do you go from conversation to conversion? You said communication equals conversion. So having said that, what are the most common communication mistakes that cost coaches and consultants deals?
Yeah, I would probably say one of the biggest things is they're not really understanding what the client needs.
Mm.
I've always said this, that an objection is really a request for more information. They're not sure they trust you. It comes down to, can they really trust you? It's you or your product. They're not convinced that you are the solution for their problem or the product that you offer is the solution for the problem. And that's on the salesperson because you need to really uncover what it is that they're objecting to. And so if they're saying, well, I don't have the money right now. So then you could say, all right, so finances aside, Sam, would you find benefit in this product? Do you think this product or this service that I offer could help you? They might say, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then it is a finance issue, right? You understand it. So they believe in your product, but maybe it really is a financial situation. Then you can solve for the finances, offering payment options or different things you can do. If they say, well, I need to talk to my spouse or my partner. Okay, tell me, what questions do you think that your spouse or your partner might have? Right? Or how can I support you in explaining to them to see the benefit? If I would ask you, so it's you see the benefit, you just need to make sure that your spouse sees the benefit, right? Clarifying the objection, or is it the timing? I'm just too busy. Okay, so if you're really busy, what if you keep on the same pace and in 6 months from now, nothing changes? How are you going to feel? Something led you to this call today that you wanted to start something today. But if you don't, I understand, right? Life happens. But what if in 6 months from now we reconnect and you're still in the same place? How is that going to feel for you? How is that going to resonate? So really getting to the core objection from your client, and that's how you can convert it. Because sometimes people will just keep hammering away over at the same thing. But we can do this, we can do this. They're, and it's because the customer doesn't trust you. So, and that goes back to the very beginning. What we talked about is that connection, building that foundation, and that you're not there to sell, that you believe in what you offer and you have value. And when you can connect with your client and talk about it on that level, that's where that trust is going to come in, and you're going to sail through those objections, because it might be their money or their finances or their spouse or their timing. But if they trust you and know that you and your product or program is the solution, then you can solve for whatever their other, you can set up a payment plan. You can have a conversation with their spouse, or arrange a time to get it started, right? But you really need to understand what their objection is. And that's where, again, in the top 1% professionals, they do that. They take the time to understand and ask better questions.
Okay. So let's pivot a little bit. I mean, I think where a lot of the energy is also focuses is about the energy of leadership and sales. You've managed and coached large sales teams for years. How does leadership energy show up in client conversations?
Yeah, I think just really understanding, I think too, it's not about, a title or whatever. It's being that connection with your team and understanding that people are motivated differently. And I had to learn this the hard way when I was leading some sales teams. I'm a very high energy, let's go cheerleader type person. And oftentimes I would think that my team or even my clients wanted to be sold to in that same way. And when I realized that people are wired differently and the way they receive information. So again, back to the DISC behavior model, when you understand and being able to adapt, not only when I led my teams, I realized that all of my teams, all the people that reported to me were different. So I needed to they were motivated differently. And I had to be able to adapt my style as a leader for my team to understand how each one of my team members was motivated. People, money isn't always a motivator for people. Success and recognition is for some other people. It's always different. And so an effective leader will, one, understand how their team members communicate and like to receive information and be motivated. And then we can take that helps them in turn relay that to their clients. So it's really just, again, having that process, not only taking time to understand and flex to your clients, but also to your team. If you're leading team or coaching people, you need to understand what motivates them and communicate to them in a way that resonates so that they can, again, take those skills and turn that to their clients. It's a smooth process throughout. So I'm really understanding those styles and what motivates them.
Yeah. And especially, there's so many different types of human beings out there. Getting that absolute blend, mirroring that is quite key over there. I'd like to talk about something from you. What is your tip of the day?
Oh, what is my tip of the day? Well, I think just really, again, going back to having confidence in what it is that you do, what excites you, what gets you up out of bed every day. Why do you want to do this? I love it. I've always got excited to empower people and just love what they do, be excited and know that I can help people. When I see my clients winning at sales, when people have come to me and they've said, I hate sales, it's just awkward, it's pushy. And when I start talking to them about what their product or their program is, and they just light up and they love it. One of my clients, she owns a moving company and she was really frustrated. She said, I just want to help it was seniors in transition where they had to move to assisted living. And, she cared for the families and it was a difficult time for them. And she didn't want to be pushy or salesy, but they did need to hire her moving services. And her approach was just very kind and gentle, but it wasn't moving the needle with people. They weren't buying from her. And she really thought it was coming down to price. And so when I talked to her about her business, why she was passionate, why it was important to her, I could just see her face light up. And when she started making those shifts in her presentations, everything changed for her. So that's where I think it's really just understanding what drives you, what is your passion, and share that with your clients. Believe in that. Tell yourself, right? This is why I'm doing it. This is why I get up and out of bed every day, because I know I can make a difference in somebody else's lives. I can help people grow their business, make money for their family, be able to take the trips, buy the things, do the things that they want and they need. So would be my tip, is just really understand your value and your passion around what you do, and everything else will flow naturally.
So let me read you your tip of the day that came out of some of your publications. And this is your tip, right? In a couple of lines. Sales isn't about talking people into something. It's about helping them hear themselves say yes. When you stop pitching and start understanding, closing becomes effortless. By Stefani Havel. That's a great tip. A couple of rapid fire questions for you. Best book that influenced your sales approach?
I would say High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. Great book.
Any daily practice that resets your energy before a meeting?
Yes, I always list out my priorities, my 3 priorities for the day, what I need to do, what I need to get done. And then, of course, gratitude. What are 3 things that I'm thankful for? I like to do things in 3. So my top 3 priorities. What are 3 things I'm grateful for? And then I spend just 3 minutes of doing some deep breathing exercises to just get grounded in a good frame of mind.
Beautiful. That is, I think, very, very important. Attitude of gratitude, and just get centered and get that energy flowing, and off you go.
Yeah.
Biggest sales myth you love to debunk?
That sales is hard. It's not hard. People think, people always have that, slimy feeling around salespeople, that they're just trying to, trick them into something, but it's really not. When you love what you do and you're passionate about your why you got into the business, or why you sell the product or the program or service that you do, it's effortless, and it's not hard at all if you really truly love what you do.
Yeah. I guess you have to, have that. And again, sales is an art, right? It's an art.
Yeah.
When I remember my earlier journey into sales, I was absolutely rubbish. But then, when you keep on knocking on doors and you keep having those conversations, automatically you start understanding that it is all about, you, the connection, how you present yourself, the energy you exude, and, the listening skills are so important. So 100%, on that with you. So Stefani, this has been brilliant. You've shown that top coaches don't close deals through pressure. They do it through confidence, clarity, and emotional intelligence. So for our audience, to learn more, please visit stefanihavel.com or download Stefani's free disc communication resource at salesstrategynetwork.com. So Stefani, again, I'd like to thank you for today and your precious time that you spent and sharing your experience and all that knowledge.
It's
For
been
our
my
listeners,
pleasure.
thank you so much. And for our listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who sells for a living and wants to do it more naturally. Subscribe to Advisor Pro Podcast for more insights from top minds in coaching and consulting. Stefani, thank you again very much, and have a great day.
Thank you.